The only thing I would be able to get was radio Bible class. Some of you understand where I'm going. Conducted by Richard D. Hahn of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Now, some veterans in this church may think that it was Duncan Littlefair who converted the world, but you know, conversions can take place in the opposite direction, too. I kept hoping Dr. Richard D. Hahn would show me how to believe, how it was as sure as rain and summer and snow and winter that God was in heaven and all was right with the world, and if I just uttered the magic words and did the right things, I could be spirited away into heaven. But you know something, as often as I listened, it never worked. He insisted it was all true, and he danced through the Bible like a nimble acrobat, and I was impressed, believe me. And so I was wondering what was wrong with me for not being able to believe as fervently, as surely, as completely as he did. After all, death was coming closer every day. Eternity and oblivion were definitely waiting. They may be patient, but they were inexorable. If anyone was ever motivated to believe, I was motivated. A century ago, a young poet wrote to his mentor for advice about writing poetry and about living life. The mentor was the exquisite German symbolist poet Rainer Maria Rilke. His letters to the young poet are among the most tender words he ever wrote, and one portion of one letter has stood out not only to me but to many as being the best advice ever given to anyone about anything. You're waiting to hear it. He wrote in part, "I would like to beg you, dear sir, as well as I can, to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and to try to love the questions themselves. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. So live the questions now. Be patient with everything unresolved in your heart." How do you do that when the waves are crashing against your soul? How do you do it when the earth is shaking beneath your feet? How do you do it when the sky is red with volcanic ash and everything seems ablaze? I don't know. But we have to do it. Let us not forget, said Tillich, waiting is a tremendous tension. We don't know what we're waiting for, but we know whatever we're waiting for is important. Looking back on my life, what little of it I can recall, this is what I've been trying to do. I've continued searching, asking, fearing, and it drove me into clergy life. Little did I know that listening to radio shows from Grand Rapids in my bed in Baltimore would ultimately take me to Grand Rapids and my own broadcast ministry. I am wondering at this very moment if there is a soul out there right now gripped by the same questions that I had then and still have, hoping that a word from me will show him or her the way. And you know, that thought is with me every week when I stand here, whether they be listening at home or watching or here in this very room. I've got to tell you what's in my heart right this minute. How dare I preach answers to any question that I haven't answered yet? I haven't a clue most of the time. How can I say, follow me, when I don't know which way I'm going? All I can say is have patience with everything unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions. Doesn't sound like much, but I now know something I didn't. This is where spiritual life begins. Until you have been inundated, shaken, erupted upon, torn limb from limb in some way, you are not ready to begin the spiritual life. until you are asking the questions of being and non-being. Not why am I here, but why am I here at all? Why is anyone here? So the question is not whether you like the Bible or believe in it, or God or Jesus or anybody else. It all starts with the waste and void, because out of that is where the soul is born. So, why are we here today then, if not for a cheering word? I've managed to make you all very depressed. For a lot of reasons. But one of them is this: as long as I had hold of my son's arm in the surf, I had hope. And what's more, I knew he did too. I was very scared, but hanging on to him kept me from falling apart. Because I had hope, therefore I had strength. Friends, don't you get the message? Hold on to the person next to you, because they'll get you through to tomorrow. If you don't have an answer, you have your neighbor, who doesn't have any more of a clue than you do, but they're right there, right now, and they are as real as anything else. We are here in this community as a congregation to hold on to each other, because it helps to know that others are in the same boat, that our fears and confusions are not private utterly, they are universal, and they do not divide us. In fact, if we can be really honest with each other and tell each other that we are quivering masses of uncertainty, they will in fact unite us. That's the message, that we are united by the struggle for being itself, by the dreadful things that haunt us at night, and not by the promises that we can overcome them. The book of Proverbs, you may have observed in the reading earlier, says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." I did that to try to get a little echo. You don't like that idea, I'll just bet. I ain't afraid of nobody. But yes, you are. If you're healthy and wise, you are. Our deepest, darkest place, the waste and void in every heart, is where every spiritual life begins. And when you get lost and think that you don't know where you are, go back there to that question again. Because when we can dwell there next to the demon, live the questions before grasping for answers, that's when your soul grows. And the Spirit of God moved across the face of the waters. That's what it is. When you're contemplating the misery, the inconclusiveness, the inundations, the earthquakes, and the floods, your spirit moves across the face of your own waters. I'm asking you to let your spirit move across the face of your own waters, to dwell there in the uncertainty. It's hard, I know that. Believe me, I know. But you're not alone. We're all doing it. That is what every soul is asked to do. And when it does, when it truly dwells upon the face of the waters, you will begin to know the truth of the next verse. Vayamru Elohim vayehi or yehi or. And God said, "Light!" And there was light. So be it. And amen.